I didn't want to be just another hairdresser or just another, I guess, there's a deep burning desire to make something of myself.
Adrian Barclay, hairdresser and owner of Venom Hair Salon in Invercargill. In just over 30 minutes, Adrian gave me a true insight into the dedication and mindset needed to see a dream become a reality. This guy has been on a massive journey from apprentice to salon owner to New Zealand Hairdresser of the Year, and it wasn't an easy road. After hitting rock bottom, Adrian says he largely attributes his turnaround to paperbacks.
So many facets of this remarkable industry. I totally underestimated what hairdressing was. I thought hairdressing was for something if you, it was a career you did if you dropped out of school, or if it was because you're not very smart, I'll just be a hairdresser. It wasn't until probably a good 2 or 3 years into it where I really started to get an understanding of what it was and the passion and the craft and the career opportunities, making people feel good, having, I don't know, I guess hairdressing for me, it appealed to me because I didn't want to cut my hair off at school. I wanted to, hang out with girls. I was more into clothes, and just really, really enjoyed that kind of. Love music. I love fashion. And it's kind of, I thought hairdressing was something cool. They always looked a bit cool, And so I gave it a bit of a go, and it's just been a fantastic industry. The creativity is endless. There's so much creativity. You travel. It is hard work. I think people do underestimate how hard it is to do it. Physically, it's a hard job. But it is a real mental job. So you're a therapist. You're a designer. You're a counsellor. You're all these things, and it's very, very rewarding. Very rewarding.
So it wasn't something that you wanted to do right from when you were a little kid or anything like that?
No, I didn't play with Barbies here or anything like that. I had an action man. I think I might have shaved a few mohawks. But I don't know, I guess when I think back, I was probably interested in, things like that. But yeah, it wasn't necessarily something I popped out and thought, I'm going to be a hairdresser. It wasn't until I started when I was 16, and that was right in the early 1990s. So it looked different than it did now. But we were right in the end of the 80s, so it was all perms and sets kind of still. Luckily, I was trained in a salon that was very progressive, and it just it just looked so totally different, and it just opened up a whole world. I think when you're young, you don't really know what you want or what you're doing, but I'm very grateful that I had a very disciplined and structured kind of environment to learn from, and that taught me taught me about standards, and it taught me about style, and it taught me about consistency, and I think they've been very important things.
So if you can go right back to the beginning and tell us the steps that you took to get to where you are now.
Well, how long have you got?
A long time.
The steps I took from the beginning, I guess. I started hairdressing when I was 16. Again, didn't really know what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be. I was in between. I wasn't really doing that well at school, but I had a genuine interest in people. I love talking, I love fashion, I love socialising, I love music, I love arts, I loved all that kind of stuff. I actually wanted to be a rock star. That was probably what secretly I probably, But so it appealed, and I got an apprenticeship at a top salon, and began my journey, and it was some many wonderful years of hard work, learning. You're sweeping the floors, you're shampooing hair. It was pretty cool time. Time.
Was that here in Invercargill?
It was in Invercargill, and it was very exciting. And some of those ladies I remember, as an apprentice, shampooing and sweeping the floor, and they're my clients now. And I always say that to my girls, my staff. You just, when you're an apprentice, they become clients for life. And I've got some wonderful clients, ladies that I've been looking after till this day. They've been doing their hair for nearly 20 years, and it's a long time to be a part of their life and to be able to
Definitely, because I mean, people get connected to the hairdressers, I feel.
They do. It's we're very lucky, and we, I mean, how many people get that close? Not many professions.
Yeah.
We are right there, and I've seen the ups and downs with people, and you share their journey. But we become their image maker, and we really have a big impact on people, and you can make someone feel amazing. With a flick of the blow dryer, cut a beautiful shape into somebody's hair, you can transform their life, and it's amazing to see that sparkle in their eye when you know that you've done something incredible, and you get a call from their husband or someone, and the best thing is when man, you've made my wife look incredible, thank you so much, and that is a real win, and I think that's when you're doing a good job, and you can really influence and make people feel good. It's a feel good.
Yeah.
It's a double winner. I get the hit by making them feel good, and they get the hit. So it's remarkable. So
that's so cool.
I guess going back to the start, I had a great upbringing in that salon. I got my confidence. I became quite successful as a hair cutter, and I grew really quickly. Started having an interest in competitions and things like that. And I remember at the time there was a hairdresser from Wellington called Derek Alvey, who's he was a fantastic, well, he still is a fantastic hairdresser, and he produced a collection of photos, and for back then it was the Hairdresser of the Year Awards, and that completely inspired me, and it was so amazing. I'd never seen anything like it, and it was a selection of photos, all done on mannequin heads, and it wasn't even real people, but the design, it really opened up what it was. The artistic expression came through, and we were able to create not only just on clients, but also take it to another level and compete and create shapes and really release that creativity, and it was pretty exciting. So that really inspired me back then to pursue I thought, well, if I'm going to be a hairdresser, let's do it to the best of my ability. I'm not, I don't want to be Joe Blow. I want to be, let's do this. Let's go the whole hog. Yeah. And I remember making noises about, wouldn't it be wonderful to be a hairdresser of the year? And I remember a few people laughing and ridiculing and saying that, well, you're from Invercargill, you're not going to be able to make that happen, mate. And so it kind of became a personal vendetta, or I'm going to prove them wrong.
The best drive, hey?
It was, actually, it was. And, it was a bit of, and I guess it kind of happened. I don't know, I engraved it in there, and it was there, it was always there, and that hunger, and began to, have some success in the competition scene, not Hairdresser of the Year, but other various competitions, and it really gave you that boost, and it made you think outside the box, it made you understand about the craft more, about the art form, about models, about hair, fashion, it's all about fashion, and that was a really great learning curve again. So we had lots of success in the early days, but I mean nothing hugely big, but there were some great awards. Yeah. And it gave me an enormous amount of confidence, and it rubbed off. It rubbed off on clients, it rubbed off on other people around me. I started having younger hairdressers under me looking up and respecting my work, even though I didn't own the salon. I was still, and started to make a pretty good living. I was enjoying it. I was travelling. I went overseas. We used to go to Australia all the time to learn from some incredible hairdressers, some of them the best in the world. So I had wonderful opportunities. Went through America, went to London, Paris, lots of places. Learnt from the greats like Sassoon. And I'm from Invercargill, but we were travelling, and it was great. I didn't have to live there, but I was able to get the best of the opportunities and really suck it up. So that was that was a real big step in getting my confidence and kind of establishing myself. And
and that's also really showing something, that you didn't have to live in those places to still learn from that experience and take it back to where you are here.
Absolutely. The longer I've been here, the better it's got. Yeah. There's been lots of things. I think you have to look at your personal situation as well. I met my wife now. 16 years ago, and
Wow.
we've been together all that time.
Yeah.
She's been a big part of my success.
Mm-hmm.
I think I encourage people to get grounded. It doesn't mean you have to figure out where you are. You have to figure out where you are, who you are, put your roots in and grow. And
Yeah.
I knew that I could succeed if I had a little bit of stability in my I guess in my personal life, and I knew that I had some passions that I want to fulfil, and she's been a big part of that, and and friends around me as well. They've been very supportive.
Yeah.
And I mean I had 13 wonderful years working at that salon. I mean, ups and downs. It's not easy work. There was times I must have, it wasn't always plain sailing. There was there was ups and downs. There's been tragedy, they've lost people in the family, there's been heartbreak, there's been all that. But I never lost my passion to stand out and perhaps to be a little bit different. I didn't want to be just another hairdresser or just another, I guess, there's a deep burning desire to make something of myself.
Yeah.
And not just to be average. I can't really stand the word, to be honest.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe situations have programmed me to be that way, but I don't know. Some people are programmed, you're programmed a particular way, and you're like, wow, this is the only way you can think, or this is your reality, So
Do you think people can change their programming though?
they can. I had to go a whole another notch. I've had to grow a lot of notches.
Yeah.
I've had to change. I think that's the problem. It's too scary. Change is too scary, or it's too difficult. But like you say, it is a mindset. You have to be able to stay open to change and to stay open to learn new things, and learn from great people or people that you admire, and have the courage to listen to them, and have the courage to act, and to take that advice.
Definitely.
So I'm a result of lots and lots of great people that have that I've asked for advice, or I've looked up to them, and I've found out how to to feed off that.
Yeah. So how did Venom begin?
Venom began after I'm a very loyal person, and I really believed in the salon that I was working for, and I think I'd probably gone as far as I could creatively, and things had changed, and it was kind of time to move on, and so Venom, I left because I wanted to pursue my creative dream, which was New Zealand Hairdresser of the Year, and I knew that there was an opportunity to perhaps do things my way, and so that was the timing. I didn't leave because I wanted to be a businessman. I certainly didn't leave because I think I wanted to make lots of money. I was doing very well, and you can do very well as a stylist. You've taken on a whole different can of worms when you open up your own business, and so I was very naive. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was successful as a hairstylist, had a big clientele, and it was time to open up Venom. Had my own thing, but it really came down for creative longings and wanting to pursue, things that I wanted to do my way. Yeah. And very naive. Opened up the salon, had a very small building, very small. Small's good. Start small. Don't try to get too big. And I learned a lot of lessons. Had some staff, and things changed, and made a few doozies, lots of mistakes actually, lots of mistakes. Had some pretty remarkable things happen actually. I had other salons, people, poach staff, and all that kind of stuff that goes on. It was a bit of a nightmare, but they were really great things that happened to me, and I'm really pleased that they did happen now when I look back, because I learned a lot about it, and I also had. Just business in general, things changed. I had to really think about what I was doing, and it wasn't really about doing hair anymore as such. It was everything. It became a bigger beast, but I was enjoying it for a little bit, and then I wasn't enjoying it, and I thought I'd created a monster. I thought I created a big monster, and I thought this is wrong. What am I doing here? Something's not right. And things were kind of sliding a bit, personally, emotionally, with the business, but I still had my dream of winning awards and continue on to and somebody had heard about my passion for. I used to do a lot of photographic shoots and things myself, and I'd had worked with photographers and this kind of thing, and they'd heard about that passion I had, and they invited me to Auckland to meet a photographer. And it was really interesting, and I went up and did a photo shoot with her, and she was really successful at her own photos, and I learned so much from her. And it was a really huge changing moment in my career, because I'd taken my hairdressing a certain distance on my own, and then I met someone who, it wasn't, in this industry, it's not, you don't choose the people, they choose you.
Yeah.
You've got to be kind of out there enough to, and have the courage enough to make those relationships work.
Yeah.
And I was still, I'd been hairdressing a long time. I thought I knew how to, I'm a hairdresser, I know how to run a business, or I know how to do photo shoots. That's not how it works. You have to be able to take direction from people and listen and be open. And it kind of worked. And me and my photographer, we've become, how many years later, she's one of my best friends.
That's awesome.
And and life-changing moment. So we started doing photographic collections together, and I learnt so much. I stopped trying to take the pictures myself, because that was ridiculous. I couldn't be the master of all things, so I had to focus on it. And her world opened up my world, and we all kind of, she believed in me. I think that was one thing. I think you've got to get people to believe in you and believe in your vision. And you've got to get your staff to believe in your vision. Yeah. And that was so she took a chance on me, and she knew that she saw something, in this, okay, I might work with this guy. He seems to have a bit of passion. And so we got really actively creative about making it happen. And another thing that happened at the time for the business was. I didn't ask from suppliers. Hairdressers all want a plasma TV. If you buy a certain amount of product from someone, what will you give me? What will you give me? Yeah. If I want to have this product line in my salon, how much money you would give me to take it, or will you fly me to Barbados or whatever? But I didn't ask for that. I asked for a lunch date with the top hairdresser in New Zealand. And a very successful business person, and he said, no problem, we'll sort it out, we'll do it. And this guy rang me up, and I just about shit my pants. And I thought, he.
Who was it?
It was Paul Seville. He's a very well known hairdresser in New Zealand. Great man, and he invited me to Auckland to. And I got more than lunch. I got everything.
That's so clever, because that's what people say, that you should spend $20 to take someone out for coffee, and it's someone who is, say, 10 years ahead of you in your career, and it will be the best $20 you've ever spent, because you'll learn so much from them. So that's so wise that you did that. Yeah,
I don't even think we ended up having a proper lunch. I think we had a kebab, and he had to pay for it because I had no money. I left it in the car, but I got, it was fantastic, and I couldn't sleep for about 3 days after that. I couldn't sleep. I was just all this information coming through my head, and what I got was a snapshot of every possible scenario in his career. I mean, he's at the top of the game, a massive company, lots of salons, lots of awards, everything. He's done everything. And it was awesome for him to be able to share that with me, and I really appreciate it. So that was a life-changing moment. The other thing I did was I got really proactive in learning. Because I was at bottom, I hit rock bottom. I was, things weren't going great. Yeah. And I thought, well, I'm going to just get stuck into this. So I started reading, something I'd never done before. I read, lots of books. I became a book junkie for about 3 years, and I kept reading and reading and reading every great minds, lots of great minds. Books like the E-Myth, anything from Donald Trump, leadership books, business books, everything. Yeah. Michael Hill Jeweler, everything. And it changed, like you said before, you change the way your brain thinks. I reprogrammed myself.
It's so true. Will Smith, he says one of the keys to life is reading, because every single problem that you have, someone else has already had before you, and they've written about it in a book. And it's so true. People don't realise how important reading is.
Absolutely. I'm totally underestimated. I mean, I didn't have I don't know. I think for me, I had nothing to lose. Yeah. I had everything to gain. Do it. Nothing will happen if you don't make it happen. Yeah. You have to make it happen. So I made it happen, and I upskilled myself, and I still read now, and I still continuously search for knowledge, and I have a real hunger for it. and it was definitely transformed me. Everything changed.
Yeah.
It was quite dramatic how everything changed. So I had all this newfound knowledge, and I had, I even had a coach. I still have a coach. I have a business coach,
Okay.
which is fantastic. So it's another voice, another person,
Yeah.
my books, and my artistic drivers. These other things around me that I started creating, and then we really things started happening. Magic started happening.
Yeah.
The business started growing. I realised that some of the mistakes I'd made were probably for a good reason, and it gave me an opportunity to have a clean slate. And I started over again, pretty much. Got some fantastic staff, implemented some systems into the salon that started working.
Yeah.
The artistic stuff really started to go with it. We started having some success in awards, like real success, getting things printed in magazines and stuff that had never been done before, and getting full-page spreads in industry magazines, and really making a bit of an impact. And things started changing, and the adrenaline kicked in, because we still have hard days, but
Yeah.
my focus was there, and we started, my language changed. I started talking about things like vision and plans and goals, and and the language of the whole salon changed. Everything changed. The way we talked, where we were going, we wrote things down, we put it on the wall. I visualised stuff. I have stuff everywhere, awards, whatever I want, I stick it out there, and it started to happen, and this salon, as a result of, it's the third Venom really in the 8 years. It's the third one, because the first one we outgrew, the second one we outgrew, and we had to make a bigger one because, who knows, maybe we might outgrow this. It's possible, but it certainly is a lot bigger. And I had lots of stuff going on, lots of stuff. It was cool. We started traveling and doing things. One of the things we did was, I figured out, I had to find out, how was I going to achieve this dream, hairdresser of the year, and what did that mean? What did it really mean? I've talked to lots of people. It's not necessary for everybody, it's not everybody's goal. They might find, that drives. You have to find out what turns you on, and I think it's that rock star thing. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I think let's be something a little bit more than just another. So I don't know. I think that was the appeal a little bit.
Yeah.
And,
but that's great. Striving for something.
We just started doing lots of photo shoots, and I did I model talent competitions, and we created this pool of wonderful models from Southland, all of it in Invercargill. I worked with models in professional agencies in like Auckland in the early days, trying to figure out, but it became difficult, it became expensive, it became hard. So, we started to look for it locally, because I knew they were here, but they just didn't know it.
Yeah.
And we've had 3 model search competitions in 6 years, and it's been a huge part of the brand, a huge part of developing the talent. I started working with a wonderful fashion stylist, ex-model Terzanne Elliott.
Oh yeah.
She's Southlander. She's become a part of my team. I pulled in a whole lot of people around me, to get them to come with me, and they believe in what we're up to, and they, my photographer believes in their brand. She's become a big part of our salon. The imagery that we use is her, it's me, it's Terzanne's clothing, it's our makeup artist. And they're all on this journey with us. And we're out there to make a big impact, and we're succeeding, and it's very exciting, very exciting. And when we finally did, achieve our, the dream, in 2009, after 17 years of hairdressing, I managed to win Hairdresser of the Year, and standing in front of 2,000 hairdressers in Sydney, in front of the world stage, and being handed that trophy just blew my mind. I knew in my heart that I wanted it, but I could, and I visualised myself, on there. But it blew my mind. It blew my mind, and it has taken us to a whole new level again, and it's very, very exciting.
That's amazing, and that you worked that long to achieve that, you know. It shows, you know, most people would have given up if it had taken 17 years.
Yeah, well, it pretty much did take 17 years.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't just happen. It didn't just happen. And
Yeah.
I tried and I failed many times. You know, I failed many times. And I don't know, you know, I mean, sometimes it's not just so much about the finish line. You know, when I think back, I think it was actually the hunt. The hunt was exciting.
Yeah.
You know, that was the fun. And, you know, it's the reward, obviously. We're up for the award again this year. You know, I'm in it again, and for this year, and it's in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay.
And you know, to win it twice is, you know, it's big, man. It's big. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So I mean, I don't mean it doesn't really matter. You know, for me, it was the hunt. I missed the hunt, so I had to come back. I missed the hunt, and it created so much energy, and so much fun, and so much clarity of where I was going that. Everything around it just kind of went with it. And I think if I had anything to suggest for anyone in any kind of artistic or even any business, I think you have to find out what turns you on about your career or occupation and be the best at it and just go for it. And everything else will come into place. The money, the whatever you want from it will come, you know, if you can find it. And yeah, I'm having the time of my life, you know. I think now I know what I am and what Venom is and where we can go with it, and I've managed to work on a model or create a model or a machine called Venom, what it is now, or myself, Adrian Barclay, or all those things together. I know what those things are now, and it's taken me a long time to figure that out. But now I know that I can take it to a whole through this. You know, now we're going through this new phase now. You know, we're sharing and we're doing shows. I'm doing an event in Auckland. You know, we really are influencing the whole industry, and looking at some pretty exciting stuff for 2013, launching into education and on selling this and our techniques into the industry, and that's exciting. That's exciting.
So cool. What would you say have been the major obstacles that you've had to overcome to get here?
Major obstacles. I mean, again, there's fear, your own lack of. You know, you have to deal with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you talk yourself in and out of stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And I think once you can learn to, again, it's about educating yourself, and you know, the biggest obstacle is your reality. And the lack of reality or the lack of expansion of your reality. And people design their lives. We design our own lives, you know. We don't, you know, to a degree we are influenced by our environment. Like if you live in an island, you live in an island. You know, if you're from a poor country, you know, chances are maybe things are a bit harder. But I mean, we are, you know, very lucky. We're very wealthy. We're a wealthy nation. You know, most of the world live in poverty. You know, but that's the biggest obstacle, I believe, is your own reality and your own perception of what's achievable, and not wanting enough. People settle for nothing. They settle for, I don't, you know, it's not, that'll be fine. You know, I accept that. I don't, you know, you gotta, you know, it's more fun.
Yeah.
It's more fun. You see more things. You go further. You know. So that would be probably one of the biggest challenges or biggest obstacles for me, was to understand that thinking, and I've had to learn that from other people. And in fact, now you know, I don't know. You have your days, but it is an ongoing thing, and you have to, you know, connect with your inner spirit and your inner self on a daily basis, so you can, you know, you can tackle some stuff. Ain't matter, man. You know, don't sweat the small stuff. You know, there's, you know, when it comes to the crunch, you know, when you're on your deathbed, what are you going to be thinking of? You know, I mean, what's going to be important to you? And I think, you know, dealing with issues like that, tough times will be there. You know, we were in this recession. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, let's all brainwash society and tell everyone how hard it is. I mean, you've got to deflect that stuff, and you know, I mean, it's yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the thing is, people will always tell you it's hard. and they'll always say, oh, you can't do this, because it's drummed into us when we're younger, and it's just this whole mindset of society. But it's so awesome that you have trained yourself to look past that. So
trying to.
Yeah.
No, I mean, no, I mean, you got to be around good people, don't you? You got to create good people around you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to let go of people as well. You know, if they're pulling you down, that's hard. You know, you've got to move forwards, and you know, hopefully we've got a long life to live. So there's going to be lots of different stages, and you know.
Yeah.
But it is a journey. You know, success is a journey. It's not it's not because I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I achieved my goal? You know, wouldn't it be amazing? You know, wouldn't it be amazing? And it was, and it is. But it's like, well,
you just keep going.
That was yesterday's news.
Yeah.
Now what's next? You know?
Exactly.
So you know, but it's
Speaking of hard stuff, what would you say is hard about what you do?
Physically, it is getting a wee bit harder. I've been doing it a long time, and I'm having to, it is hard work. Physically, it's hard work to be on the go all the time. Leaving my family, flying all the time. It's not glamorous. It was glamorous about the first 5 flights, and now it's whatever. That kind of thing. It was definitely that's a challenge. Being away. I mean, you work under pressure, you know, as a pressure cooker. Sometimes you want to just have that job, like, you know, you want to be a postman or someone you're just kind of walking around the streets doing, you know, or, you know, you don't have to communicate with too many people. You're on stage the whole time, you know. So it's very demanding from the moment you get up, bang, it's all go, it's all go. But, I'm lucky because I've found my passion. I feel like I am very, very lucky. You know, I smile when I walk into here. You know, I was able to design this wonderful building. You know, a design here. I get to express myself. Not many people can be that lucky. I think. You know, I love what I do. I love people. I love learning from people. I love listening to my clients, and you know, there's so much information out there, and from you learn a lot from people, and it is a rewarding job. So it is hard to pinpoint a lot of things, but definitely travelling around is that's hard. It gets a bit boring.
For someone who's at the beginning of their journey and they want to be a hairdresser or perhaps own a salon one day, what's your advice to them?
There's no fast track to the top. There's no fast track. I think our fantastic generation coming through still have to understand that you do have to start at the bottom and climb each step all the time, and it's about consistency, absolute consistency. It's not about changing your mind all the time, or do I do that, or what shall I do that? Shall I be an interior design? I actually put my career first through a lot of stuff. I actually thought, well, at the end of the day, this is my sunshine and it's my oxygen. Girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever it is, are going to come and go. Things will happen, but actually that has been my building block, and it's been what I am. I've never turned my back on it. And I think sometimes when you're young, you tend to give up, and you tend to get confused because you're not going fast enough, or you haven't earned an X amount of money, or you haven't done this and you haven't done that. I don't know many successful people that are millionaires or are completely happy at 21 or 22, even if they are a millionaire and they've invented some wonderful new invention or something on, they're probably not happy anyway. I don't know, they're still searching for something. It's one step at a time, and to be open to learn and listen from other people, and never ever give up, and be consistent.
And what's one step that they could take today that could put them on the path?
Put them on the path.
The right path, of course.
The right path. Okay. Well, there's so many. One step, it's hard to. I think definitely the best thing I ever did was to learn to listen, and to not think. I think we think we know it all so quickly. We don't. You have to keep learning. You have to keep being really open-minded.